It's just gone 10 o'clock, so I declare this meeting of the Community and Services Committee for the 3rd of April open. Very good morning to councillors present. Nice to see your smiley, happy faces today. As always, to our General Manager, Ken Bailey, on my right. Nice to see you again, Ken. To staff that are involved with the meeting and have turned up here today, thank you for your attendance and the work that you do. Members of the public, we do have a couple here today. Nice to see you both again today. Nice to have you here, and thank you for taking an interest in what we have got in front of us today. To the media who might be tuned in, thank you, and to Sophie Miller, our Democracy Services Advisor. Thank you for your work, Sophie. First up here is apologies. We've received 2 apologies from our councillors this morning. Lisa Guy, who's currently on leave in India, and also to Councillor Cody Tucker, who's unavailable to be here today. He's down in Southland after his big trip to China. We do need a resolution here that the apologies from Councillor Tucker and Guy are accepted. Do we have a mover? Thank you, Esther. A seconder. Thank you, Matt. In favour? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Declarations of conflict of interest. No conflicts of interest. Matters lying on the table. We have no matters lying on the table. Then we move to public forum, where we've been advised of 1 speaker today. David Mayhew, nice to see you again from the Kelvin Peninsula Community Association. Thanks for coming, David.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I just want to say a few things in support of the Jardine Park Development Plan. As always, I've written it up, so you've got spare copies.
And as always, we do have a time limit as per standing orders of 3 minutes, but we're not that right in this committee. So we don't allow rambling, but we do allow, in a small setting like this with this committee, points to be made. So over to you, David.
So thank you. Be aware, Mr. Chairman, that I represent Kelvin Peninsula Community Association, who have been quite closely involved in the development of the development plan since its inception. And here to support the council recommendation that the plan be adopted. As I set out there, the plan, certainly the purpose of the plan is to provide a clear and comprehensive vision for the entire park, and it incorporates work carried out over the past decade, including previous community engagements and designs. And the important point here is that it does reflect community involvement for over 35 years in thinking about what we want to do with this significant and important piece of open land that is available to the community. Very much the theme of both the report and the plan, and also the previous documents that council have produced, is to retain and enhance the open and rural character of the park. Gives a little bit of history there, just to emphasise that the need for a spatial plan has been identified some time ago because of the way ad hoc developments were occurring, and it was important, we thought, that council come together on a concept of a spatial plan so that the whole of the park was taken into account when looking at any individual projects. And I give a little bit of history of that, which you're welcome to read. There were 2 draft concepts, as mentioned in the report, presented to KPCA's AGM last year, and then facilitated the feedback, to which some of the councillors participated as well, which was very important. But as I say, the important thing is the planners engaged with the community both before putting pen to paper. So unusual in that regard, because normally the consultation plan comes out for people to look at, but in fact, planners looked at the material that was available from past consultations, got a very clear picture of what the community wanted, and fed that into their thinking right from the outset. And then, of course, during the refinement stages as well. So we're very pleased about that. While, of course, not everybody will agree with everything in the plan, that's inevitably the case. It is a development plan, as I say, and I just wanted to make a couple of other points that, so for example, in relation to the idea of a cafe hub building, which is potentially planned somewhere down, proposing to somewhere down the future, KPCA is not at all clear that that was necessary. So it reserved its position, notwithstanding we adopt the plan and agree with the plan. We still think that whether that happens in the future is for further debate, and in particular because going back as far as 1990, the identified where the multifunctional building would be. It was actually where the croquet clubhouse is now. And it would be a matter of we think a better solution would be to repurpose that building. And indeed, that, as you know, that already operates as a community hub in many respects. That's where we have our drop-in sessions. It's where my emergency response group meets. So it has that multi-purpose function already. Just also draw your attention to the fact that the concept plan makes no reference to or no allowance for a future road through the park. And that certainly has unanimous support from the community. We will look at the question of whether the paper road should be removed from the park itself under the process under the 10th schedule of the Local Government Act once the plan is adopted. And we think we might have to go down that route, and that will be the forum for just debating whether that's the right response. But it's something that you ought to just be aware of in the decision making. Okay, so happy to answer any questions, but otherwise, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah. Thank you, David. And I do know that, having known you through my time on council, that every summer in New Zealand, when it comes to a close, you head back to the UK to catch up with grandkids and families. So wishing you a safe trip when you go back.
Can I just
back in town.
ask a quick question?
Yes.
So is the sentiment similar to yours, you would say, from the drop-ins in terms of people enjoying the process and how it's all fed in from previous consultations as well?
Yes, I think so. I think some people genuinely feel they were being consulted and engaged. I mean, there were a range of views because there's a range of demographics and different enthusiasms. But no, I think that because we were able to influence the way the thinking was, Brianna and I had a discussion about, do we have a consultation? Do you produce a plan, or do we have a consultation first? And at the end of the day, we said, well, we've already been consulted.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of feedback in the materials you've already got. Gather that up, think about it, and reflect that, and then your plan will already be hopefully based on where the community is coming from. So it worked, and it worked well. So that then the set of plans that were produced, 2 different plans, there were responses to different ones. I mean, most obvious point was the paper road was in one plan, one of the concept plans and not the other, and that was very clear from the community. They didn't want to see that happening, the road coming through the park. But yes, it meant that people were really able to engage and be part of the process and feel that they were being listened to.
Good.
That's so great.
Thank you. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Right, we move on to confirmation of the agenda. And we do need a resolution here, councillors. We've been requested prior to the meeting that the agenda be altered to accommodate staff availability. So the resolution is that the agenda be confirmed with the alteration that items 1 and 2 will be switched to accommodate Sophie and her availability here this morning so she can catch her flight. We need a mover. Thank you, Esther. Seconder. Thank you, Matt. All in favour? Aye. Carried. Confirmation of the minutes of an ordinary of the previous meeting on the 12th of November. A resolution is required that the minutes of the 12th of November 24 Community and Services meeting be confirmed with a true and correct record. A mover. Thank you, Barry. Seconder, Matt. In favour? Carried. So on to item number 2, which becomes item number 1. The reserve vesting report for reserves in Hanley's Farm and Park Ridge. Sophie Craig is the author of the report. Sophie and Jeannie are going to join us at the table. The resolution required that the Community and Services Committee 1 note the contents of this report, and 2 recommend to Council that the vesting of the following reserves be approved: A, Park Ridge Limited; B, King Enterprises Limited Partnership, and their associated conditions as listed in the full recommendation within the report; and 3, recommend to Council that any reserve improvement contributions are offset against those payable in accordance with the Development's Contributions Policy, current at the time of contributions payment, subject to, and those additional points listed in the recommendation in the report. Thank you, Sophie and staff, for your work on this. Just to make councillors aware that we'll start with questions. We'll get a mover and a seconder, get into comments after before we vote. You're happy with that. Sophie.
Thank you. Good morning to the committee, and thank you for accommodating that change to the agenda. I did just want to note that the 2 residential subdivisions are Park Ridge, and then the second one is Shallow Country, not Hanley's Farm, is the correction. required.
Thank you.
Yeah, but otherwise all good. I'll just give a summary of the 8 reserves that are vesting in the Wakativu Basin today. 7 of the 8 reserves are proposed to be vested in Parkridge, which was previously known as Coneburn, the special housing area in the southern corridor, closest to town, closest to Frankton. North of Hamleys Farm and Jacks Point. There's 526 residential lots, 14 multi-unit lots and 1 commercial lot. And then there's 3 recreation reserve lots. All of those are proposed to vest today, and then also 13 local purpose reserves. So the residential development is relatively new, and all of the proposed reserves that will be administered by Parks and Reserves are coming to the committee today. And then there's a map included in the report that has some helpful arrows that I guide everyone to, but there's 3 large recreation reserves that are identified with red arrows, and one of these constitutes a community park, which will be a large area to accommodate community gathering, for it could be use playgrounds and large community space for that the future residents of the development. And then the other 2 arrows represent local parks, so they are slightly smaller in size, but still accommodate community as sort of community gathering and kick around space, provide valuable open space to that community. The remaining arrows on the map are green arrows, which indicate local purpose reserve, and then closest to the state highway will be 2 linear reserves that are visual buffers between the highway and state highway and the development, and then closer to the lake or to the west are connection reserves that will provide connectivity through to the A7, or eventually what will be the A7 transport route between Jacks Point and Frankton. So that's the summary there for the Parkridge reserves, and then the final reserve, the 8th reserve that they're looking to do today is within shot over country, and it's infill development there. It's Brampton Lane is a 35 lot residential subdivision, and proposing to vest a recreation reserve that will form part of the existing linear reserves, which have got the power lines through them, is how they're characterised, but it all links together there to create, it's the last piece to continue that section of reserve. So it actually has been functioning essentially as a reserve for a long time. It has a path constructed through it, and it provides sort of that connectivity through for walking and biking. So that's the summary of those reserves today, and happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Councillor Mack.
Thank you. I think it said in the notes here that the costs will be absorbed in the current budgets. I'm just wondering, is there a bit of an indication on actually how much it might cost? Obviously take over these reserves, and saying we shouldn't, but is there a rough estimate of what that might look like for us?
I don't have specific costs with me now. That's something that we can come back to you with a response on, or actually I'm not sure if we would be able to quantify.
They do have so these reserves have yet to be vested, because this is the first step in ensuring that we get sign off to as per the Reserves Act.
Yeah.
Then they get vested, and then they subject to a 3-year maintenance agreement. So we won't actually be having any costs hopefully associated with these until the next LTP
So it falls into your
round,
budget.
and then it will just fall into the contract budget. And ideally, if reserves have been well designed, then there shouldn't be a lot of maintenance costs other than mowing to start with.
Okay.
Toilets and things.
And in terms of amenities, any indication of what sort of amenities you might be thinking of putting there? Or is that sort of consultation with the public?
Is it
The detailed design for the
playground?
Yeah.
Coverage.
yes,
Yeah.
yep. So that's we're reviewing the detailed design for a playground within the larger recreation reserve in Parkridge, which is lot 800 on the map, and that will be adjacent to the lot 900 is coloured blue on the map, which is a small commercial area which is anticipated to have potentially a little cafe and bars and things like that. So that's the location of that playground. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was just going to ask about, I guess, I know we're not anywhere near the detailed design stage, but in terms of the connectivity and the blue-green network, have you anything can come through the blue-green network in terms of kind of the corridors between the on figure 2, between the recreation reserves and the local purpose reserves?
Yeah, so this one, at the SHA stage, and they got their bulk block subdivision quite a long time ago, and we fought really, really hard with this particular development to get some good blue-green network outcomes. We didn't call them that at the time, but so there are some significant stormwater matters for this parcel of land in particular to resolve, because they're sort of at the bottom of the corridor and receive quite a lot of stormwater flow from the other developments. So that was their big, big challenge.
Okay.
But there is a lot of stormwater reserve land, because then it flows on to QE2 land next door.
Oh, yeah.
So with regards to, yeah, just that layout and the number of recreation reserves, we fought really hard. And then in terms of connectivity, our hands were a little more tied in terms of the urban design and connections through the development itself. But yeah, we did the best we could, but that was about 4 or 5 years ago now. So like I said, there's often legacy things that, yeah.
Okay. So does that mean when you were saying it, in terms of stormwater, that this is kind of a natural low point at which, so would it act a bit like a rec park here in terms of?
That's what those large reserves through in the middle, they're big attenuation areas.
Okay.
Yeah, and we fought hard to have recreation land outside of that as well, so that it could provide
functional
community and not just be stormwater reserves.
Okay. All right, and it's probably no point in asking about types of planting, like you were just saying, in terms of costs and maintenance, you know, mowing, etc. But obviously we can mitigate some of that with the way that we choose species, etc.
Yeah, the detailed design is still to come, I think,
Yeah.
on those parts of it.
Okay, thank you. That's been real. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Esther. Any other questions? This is in for a mover and a seconder. Do we have a mover? Resolution is in front of us. Matt, seconder. Esther, any comments? No, all good. Right, yeah, the resolution is in front of us. 1, note the contents of this report. And 2, recommend to council that the vesting of the following reserves be approved. Park Ridge Limited, King Enterprises Limited Partnership. And 3, recommend to council that any reserve improvement contributions are offset against those payable in accordance with the development's contribution policy current at the time of contributions payment, subject to, noted. All those in favour? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Have a nice flight,
Thank you.
We go to item number 1, which is item number 2. The Jardine Park Development Plan. Rihanna and Christine are going to join us at the table. Christine's the author of their report. And the resolution is pretty simple. The purpose of this report is to consider the Jardine Park Development Plan for adoption, note the contents of this report, and adopt the Jardine Park Development Plan. Christine, good morning. Would you like to add anything to your report?
Good morning, councillors. The report can be taken as read, but I would like to add our thanks to the public for being very involved in this process, and David from KBCA for speaking this morning and helping facilitate communicating with that group. Also the local Runaka and their consultants who've had input into this plan. Councillors Berg, Mel and Matt, who attended the drop-in sessions and had some hearty conversations, it looked like. And the key stakeholders that we met with and spent extra time with, such as the Mokatipu Reforestation Trust, Dog Agility and Croquet Club, and the Croquet Club for hosting us at all the sessions that we had. It was lovely venue. From the feedback, the park is clearly very highly valued for its rural, open and undeveloped character, and having a development plan helps to protect these values and prevent the ad hoc development like David mentioned. So it provides a long-term cohesive spatial layout for the activities and services in the reserve. Many people pointed out that we don't have any budget in the consultation process. And while that's true, having a development plan does allow for communities or trusts to raise funds and help implement just priority elements within the plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you, staff, for your work on this. I just thought I might ask General Manager Ken Bailey on the back of some of David's comments in the public forum, whether you've got any comment or follow up to.
Thank you, Chair.
You are here.
Thank you. As Christine highlighted, actually, and maybe Christine would also like that. We've been very fortunate working with Mr. David Mayhew and Alan's alongside David with that committee over a very long period of time. And I think a forward relationship like that is actually, as you've heard today from the association, raised the good and some of the areas that they would like us to be well aware of in terms of the adoption of the plan, but also when we get to those pieces such as the cafe, the paper road. But you know, they and like any of the development plans the team have been either reviewing or updating or actually developing, do require us to ensure we work alongside community on any element that potentially is of an issue that we would need to engage with that community. So specifically in terms of the points raised by Mr. Mayhew, the cafe and the road, the team would definitely be a part of that conversation at the right time. And then the other comments just acknowledging the work of the actual planners. I did like that. We're very fortunate to have a dedicated crew in the parks planning team. I did want to acknowledge Mr. Mayhew's comments about the way we've gone about engaging and consulting on this process. We often are criticised for a range of reasons, including consultation fatigue, but it's really positive to hear from such a long-established group that we are really respectful of, that they have valued the way the team have gone about doing it. And we're very fortunate there's a good turnout from them today, apart from Sophie that needed to shoot out because we accommodated the schedule for it. So I do want to acknowledge that, and we do welcome the opportunity to take forward this development plan alongside the association and the many touch points Christine's touched on. We know it's a very valued piece of reserve. It's got world-class settings and just people really enjoy founding and being part of it. So we look forward to adopting the plan and taking forward some of the elements that have been set out.
Thanks, Ken. Any questions from councillors? Yes, mate.
Thank you, Ferg. Just one really. It's sort of around that range of feedback that you received, and it's not clear cut who supports, who opposes. I think it was 44% support, 31% oppose, 25% neutral. But how do we, as an organisation, sort of move forward with a clear consensus of what that community actually wants? Obviously, we can park a few of the ideas that are a little bit more controversial, but how do we move forward with confidence? And it's answer it however you wish.
Yeah. I guess we analyse all the responses thoroughly and look at what some things are out of scope, some things come in and there can be addressed through our regular operations or maintenance things, and we just ultimately try to get something that is fits with all the existing documentation, reserve management plan, that kind of thing, and have an outcome that will suit the community and the park. Yeah, it is challenging when there's a range of feedback.
Sorry, apologies for the.
No, that's right. Just to add to what Christine says, I think sometimes it may say oppose, but there may be one particular element within that submission. So we have to go through it and sort of analyse it within the spreadsheet and then look at weighting, whatever it is. Maybe it's a pathway in a particular area, and then have a discussion and then bring it back and talk to the stakeholders where we needed to. So, and that's where we balanced it out with that feedback.
I think through you, Chair, to set the team's points there, Councillor, one of the things that the team are really cognizant of is that the long-term decision-making to ensure that, you know, we really are guardians looking out for some of this world-class reserve. And your point about the opposed, as Mr. Mayhew's raised this morning, where there's elements that the team need to have those conversations. It's not just this is the plan. It's actually about if you're going to implement an element of it, we need to actually continue to have those conversations.
Yeah.
And that would be pretty much acknowledged across a range of areas that the team have been working with reserve management plans of late. You know, we've certainly heard views and opinions from a whole host of different people. When I think about some of the work program that we've been chugging through, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors? Mover? Matt, seconder? I'll second this.
Yeah, sorry, I just.
Hand up there.
Yeah, that's right. Got what to do. So yeah, the recommendation is pretty simple there, that the Community and Services Committee note the contents of this report and adopt the Jardine Park Development Plan. No comments?
So I'd like to make a comment.
Yes, Barry.
Just endorsing the need to get that close community involvement as things progress. It's important that the community has input and feel a sense of ownership for these amazing facilities that we've got. And having been through the Mount Iron master planning process in Wanaka and had discussions with, you know, people and understanding the passion and the feelings they have for these areas, that the key to it is working together as we go forward.
I just wanted to actually thank KPCA because I think, you know, our community associations work really hard. And it's very challenging to get people on board. And I think KPCA is kind of, I don't want favouritism, but you do an incredibly good job. And I think you're very well organised, very well informed. And I think the engagement from your community really reflects that. Like, I'm in Frankton and it's challenging to get people on board. But I do think that this is it's just a great case study of that working well. So yeah, I guess it would be good for us to kind of figure out what makes that work well and see if, I mean, I know we do that anyway, but, you know, through Abby Mock's work, etc. But, you know, to support other community groups to be able to be as efficient and effective. So, yeah.
Look, I'll just echo Esther's words there, and we've got a world-class asset over there as well, and it's very engaged community association. They always have been. They're always a pleasure to deal with, which is why I love spending time over there. And I believe actually when I was there at the drop-in sessions, I actually considered moving across.
Over to the Sunshine Coast.
Exactly. No, so it is a wonderful asset that you've got there, and I do look forward to creating an even better asset than what you've got today. My only other comment is, do all the Frisbee golf people live only in Kelvin Heights? They're everywhere. Right, thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Yeah, it's over to us to note the contents of this report, adopt the Jardine Park Development Plan. All those in favour? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, David. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, staff.
Thank you.
Pleasure working with you. Right, item number 3. The draft Glenorchy Airstrip Reserve Management Plan. Good morning, Jeannie.
Pleasure.
For us, note the contents of this report. Recommend to council to approve the draft Glenorchy Airstrip Reserve Management Plan for public notification, and recommend to council to appoint 3 members from the Services Committee, Community and Services Committee, to a panel and to hear and consider submissions received. The plan goes out for public notification. Jenny, good morning, and any comments you'd like to make or add to the report?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'll just, obviously this has been a few years in the making. So I want to thank the community for their patience in us preparing this, but reasonably confident that we've got a much more fit for purpose and agile draft plan than the 2016 plan. We've done a lot of work since then, and also just wanted to thank the Glenorchy Airstrip Consultative Governance Committee in particular, and for all of their work that has gone into the successful relationship that we've got to run the airstrip and do all the work that we've done up to this point and their input into this plan. So I think hopefully it's a good indication that it's all arrived to this point very smoothly, which is really encouraging. Yeah, it's a complicated paddock up there, the Glenorchy Aerodrome, has been in the past, but I think it's working really well. And we've got really good engagement with all of the operators in the community as well. So I guess in summary, this plan builds on the original plan, but the key objectives that we'll be going out to consultation with are that there is the intention in this draft that the airstrip will be managed within the limits set in the designation conditions. Currently operating at approximately 50% of those flight limits. So there is some room for managed growth, but there will be some deliberate thought needed around what happens when we reach that limit. And that's hopefully planned for within this draft plan, including a reference to a flight allocation methodology. So we didn't have that in the previous plan, and setting out that we will have a flight allocation methodology rather than trying to anticipate absolutely everything in this draft plan. Hopefully will give us that flexibility and ability to respond to the demand at the time and what's happening out there. And this plan does anticipate some development, primarily in the form of up to 2 hangars that commercial operators would develop and operate, obviously with the other required resource consents and landowner approvals. And that we would continue with the existing governance model of where we work closely with the Consultative Governance Committee and the membership that's on that. Nothing further from me, and happy to take questions.
Any questions, Councillor Laws? Nathan?
Thank you. We've spent a lot of time talking about this, so going to go into too much detail there, but just wondering if you could explain the time frame, I guess, for consultation and feedback and what happens from here.
Yeah, so this is a standard reserve management plan. So we set by the Reserves Act, which is 2 months consultation. We have agreed internally that we'll go out to the public after the school holidays, recognising that a lot of the operators will get busy in the tourism industry and a lot of the community as well. So we'll be working on our material in the next while. So after the school holidays in 2 months, and then we've kind of worked back from hopefully getting this adopted by the end of the year, recognising that there's elections in the midst of that all, but we're very aware of those future constraints potentially or opportunities.
All right, so after April, consultation period for 2 months.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
And we do anticipate a hearing,
Yes.
a level of engagement.
So that'll be July?
Yeah.
Somewhere. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Any other questions?
No, I was just going to ask the same question around the hearing. So we think the hearing will be about July.
Right. Do we have, sorry,
No, sorry. I'm just trying to digest everything from all the information over the many meetings we've had on this. No further questions, thanks.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Matt, do we have a seconder? Barry, any comments?
Cody and Lisa on the panel.
Not here, get a job. Yeah, well, we must take that into account. We do need to appoint 3 members from the Community and Services Committee to be a part of that panel that hears submissions. Do we have any interest? I'm quite happy to be a reserve panelist. I've been on this one before, but
We've got all the knowledge then.
I think it's been superseded.
I'll put my hand up.
Esther? And if you Matt, okay, Esther and Matt, I'm happy to be a reserve panelist. If Barry is otherwise engaged, then we will work internally with Lisa and Cody not here and see what their availability is. But at this point, happy with that.
I'm happy to be second reserve.
Second reserve.
Not third reserve.
Come on the bench. So Esther, thank you. Matt, thank you. I'll be a reserve and we'll have dialogue with councillors Tucker and Guy as to whether we can get one of them on that panel as well. I'd just like to say before we go to the vote that yes, you know, this is for the Glenorchy community, but Jenny, I just want to acknowledge the work that you've done over a very long period of time, which I've been privy to in my time on council. Sometimes I'm sure for us councillors, we don't lose sight of that, but I think the Glenorchy community and I guess the wider Wakatipu community do owe you a great deal of thanks for the time that this subject has, I guess, imposed, even though it's work, has imposed on your time. So many thanks for the work that you and your team have done on this particular item.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciated. Right, all those in favour? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we get to our final item number 4, which is the Chair's report, which we always like to table at our community and services meetings, just to give a bit of an update to those who might be interested, those that might be tuned in, members of the community or media, as to some of the work that community and services are currently undertaking or have ticked off a very long list. And as I like to do as chair, is to always move that around our councillors to have their say with the report and to take you through it. So this morning it's Councillor Matt Wong. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Matt.
There's not many to pick on today, is there? So tread short straw. Okay, so here we go. So the Chair's report summarised here today for the Community Services Committee for the 3rd of April. Parks update, it's all been about fences, forests and getting rid of pests. So project Tohu Corrigan Forest and the regeneration there is kicking off strong. Deer fences are up, pests are out, the trail building is underway and the first tree planting has begun. I think, yes, good. Rabbit-proof fencing has made its debut at Lake Hayes Pavilion and the Queenstown Event Centre to protect the turf and the trees from those bunnies. 2 reserves, Arrowtown, Riverside and Widgeon Park, both get a high concept design for future makeovers and contractor Becca is creating these. There will be some community input rolling out in April. Libraries will be talk of the town this month. LitFest 2025 will be celebrating literacy across the district libraries. And it's more than just about books, which is good. Financial literacy for young staff is always a good one to jump on. And I've actually pointed all of my staff towards it. And I think that's going to be very useful. March Library Sign-Up Month with a special focus on local businesses. Community partnerships, diverse, welcoming and funded, which is great. We celebrate the cultural richness of our district at the Queenstown Multicultural Festival and the Wanaka Whānau Day in March. Queenstown Lakes Welcoming Plan received 41,000 boost from the Central Lakes Trust, so thank you very much to them. The upcoming Newcomers Guide, which is out in May, is your ultimate survival guide if you're new to Queenstown Lakes. Responsible camping, managing the madness. Freedom camping, let's just say, was very popular this summer. Our ambassador team did a stellar bit of work keeping things clean and responsible and spreading the Tiaki promise. The ambassador program will continue until the end of April. Camper vans that have blue warranted self-contained, using that term extremely lightly, get a heck of a grace period until June 2026. More time to go green and comply with the Self-Contained Motor Vehicle Legislation Act 2023. A new camping bylaw is in the works, with stakeholder chats already happening. Expect workshops and draft bylaws and public feedback before winter 2025. That's this year, in case you're wondering. Funding series, helping non-profits level up. The funding series, which is a collaboration between QLDC, Huddle 3, Lakes Cultural Trust, Sport, Otago and the Conservation Alliance, has launched with a bang, helping local non-profits and community groups get smarter about securing support and managing finances. Summer days, teddy bears, picnics and picnic in the park barbecues were once again a hit, fantastic way to bring the community together and chew the fat with some councillors. These events remind us that sometimes public engagement doesn't just mean newsletters and Facebook posts, but can also include a sausage and a picnic blanket. I'll leave that one there. Sport and recreation, courts, collaboration and community goals. Queenstown Event Centre's outdoor courts have a slick new Rebound Ace TSA surface. I have no idea what that means, but it looks sharp. Community feedback has been glowing, and particularly from one netball spectator dad, which is me. Indoor courts are still in planning mode with further governance updates coming soon. In Wanaka, the Upper Clutha Sports Facilities Group is finalising proposals on field use and lighting ahead of the long-term plan, and hopefully there's some big plays ahead for Wanaka. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you to staff for all the work that you do. We need a mover and a seconder. We have a mover. Thank you, Esther. A seconder. Thank you, Barry. All those in favour? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Declare the meeting closed at 10:40.